Okay, hopefully we're working now. I don't know what's going on. It's pretty crazy. But what up, fam? I guess people that rewatch this will just see this, but we had some technical difficulties. Everything just stopped working on all the streams. Very crazy. The only thing I did different this time was have Rumble. I was trying to stream to Rumble. I don't know if that's what did it or not, but all right. Anyway, so welcome to School in the Globers, episode 10. And we're going to get right back into it. We're talking about microwave transmissions. I lost all my tabs that I pulled up. I'm pretty salty about it. But anyway, let's just get right into it. Microwave transmissions. So this is the range of frequencies. Right here, you have, starting down here at the bottom left, you have very low frequencies. You have low frequencies, medium frequencies, high frequencies, very high frequencies, ultra high frequencies, super high frequencies, and extremely high frequencies. That's when you get into infrared, visible, ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma ray, cosmic ray. You may see some of these rays in the chat. Just ignore them. This is just, of course, electromagnetic radiation. What is light? Excitation of the background. It's all the same stuff, different versions of the same stuff, specifically different frequencies. Cool. So, and then what I was explaining to you guys is that frequency and wavelength is inversely proportionate. And that's kind of an important thing to understand. Pretty basic stuff, but of course, that means that if you have a higher frequency, you have a shorter wavelength, and vice versa. If you have a lower frequency, you have a longer wavelength. Okay, moving on. Oh, and just so you know, if you go up from here and you keep moving towards the right, as you get increased frequency, you're going through the spectrum of radio transmissions. You get into microwave transmission around 300 megahertz, moving up to 300 gigahertz. All right. Here we were discussing how in 1901, Marconi and his assistant sent radio transmissions out over the Atlantic. His detractors told him they wouldn't go any further than 200 miles maximum because the curvature of the Earth would block it. He tried it anyway, sent out horizontal line of sight radio transmissions, just shot them straight out. And they were received first attempt 2,200 miles. Over 2,000 miles further than they should have been on the globe Earth, according to the prediction and where the curvature should block it. That's when they then invented what's called now the ionosphere, where they claim that the Earth's curvature blocks a lot of the radio waves. The rest keep going towards space, then reflect back down off the ionosphere. This is what we call skywave propagation in this globe paradigm that made up an ad hoc idea that they couldn't prove at all, and in fact had to change a lot of what they say goes on. Sorry, thought I was doing this. Just to save the globe, the ionosphere is literally an invention due to the globe Earth. It is said that radio waves topping out with frequency of about typo, that there's 40 megahertz, bounce off the quote-unquote ionosphere in what is called skywave propagation, depicted to the right here. You see it'll go up towards the ionosphere and then bounce back down, up, down, up, down. Very high frequency signals, VHF, with frequencies above about 30 megahertz, quote-unquote, usually penetrate the ionosphere and are not returned to Earth's surface. It's important to take note of this. Frequencies above 30 megahertz are supposedly going to go right through this ionosphere. This creates what is called a skip zone or dead zone. You see the gap there as it goes up and comes down. There's a huge area in between that you can't receive the signal if this was correct. So very basic stuff. We are schooling the Globers here, so this is what your model claims and believes. Okay, just covering the basics there. Now, I want to pay attention here, right? 30 megahertz. Anything above that or topping out at 40, then it goes through the ionosphere. Of course, they make all kinds of stories up about sending radio waves to the moon and all this stuff, right? Well, here are some of the records, and it sucks because I had to use the Wayback Machine, and now my my browser went away. I might can find it in just a second. Let me see if I can find it real fast. But if you look at these records, they're pretty telling. I'm trying to find it. I'm really pretty triggered about this. Whatever. I'll try to find it later. We're all flat earthers. Renee, thank you for the $20 super chat. Greatly appreciated. Much love. All right, so you have in megahertz, the frequency in megahertz to the left, this left column right here. Hopefully you guys can see yeah. This is megahertz. So you got, now this ranges all the way up. I would have pulled it up, but all the windows closed. And here we go. It's going up higher and higher. So this is significantly higher, of course, than 30, or the top should be 40, they say. So these can't go off the ionosphere. Okay. So if we have like a 100-foot tower or a 300-foot tower, we can only send these out so far. I mean, the Earth's curvature is going to block it at, say, about 200 miles. Well, here we go with, say, 106 at the top. 106 megahertz was shot 1,055 miles. If you come down here, you see 2,500 miles, 1,100 miles, 1,500, 1,500, 1,400, 106.5 megahertz, 2,500 miles. These are the verified and recorded records. Here we go, 106.7, 2,140 miles. Well, if it's supposed to get blocked at 200 miles, and things over 30 megahertz go through the ionosphere, how are we sending 106 megahertz frequencies 2,100 miles? This actually debunks the globe. And in fact, a lot of these can be done relatively consistently. Now, when you get to the highest, the greatest distance they got, obviously you have attenuation, you have all kinds of obstruction in the atmos itself, so it doesn't allow it. But this can't be bouncing up and down like this shows, even according to their own paradigm. So why are we sending something way higher than 40 megahertz out over 2,000 miles? This debunks the globe. This is not optical. This is not something you can just scream refraction about, which they'll try to anyway. These are 160 megahertz or 106 megahertz radio transmissions. So, okay, that's interesting. Now, they will try to claim a whole bunch of stuff about this, but I just wanted to show you guys that. I find it very interesting. Not even the point of the stream, and the globe's debunked. But we'll cover, they make up a whole bunch of fairy tales. All right, now we have microwaves. Microwaves have a significantly narrow beam. Significantly more narrow beam, right? If you see the depiction here to the left, you have these radio waves depicted with the gray waves. You have the microwaves with the orange ones. They are much more concentrated. They have very small beam divergence, a very narrow beam. Okay, and it can range from, you know, tiny, like millimeter length up to a few feet, like 2 or 3 feet. If you go from, again, microwave is from the range of around 30 gigahertz or 30 megahertz, so right around here, up to about 300 gigahertz. Okay, and so they have different beam divergences. Obviously, getting smaller the higher it gets. So, and that's simple. That's a simple concept to grasp, right? Like, you got something moving back and forth. If you decrease the length, you increase the amount of times it'll go back and forth in that small distance. Right, which of course, again, frequency and wavelength are inversely proportionate. Okay, so if we send this microwave out, like right here, sorry, I don't know what happened. Right here, you send this microwave out to this hill, it gets blocked by the hill. Now, if you send out the radio waves, they're going to span out much more, so you'll have diffraction, and they say that the waves just diffract around the hill. Now, diffraction isn't fake. You do have diffraction. You can have like radio transmissions and they can diffract. But as you get higher and higher in the frequency, you get a much more narrow beam. Well, if the span of the waves isn't greater than the hill, it can't diffract around it. Okay, so you can't just say diffraction with microwaves because it doesn't work like that. right? It's very simple. Diffraction is, okay, this wave's going to go out, this hill's going to block some of the waves, and then it's going to fill back in behind it. It's going to fill in that gap behind it as it goes out, because radio waves, of course, spread out like this right here. So as some of it gets blocked, keeps going, it's going to keep spreading out. Microwaves, all of it's going to get blocked. So it can't just diffract around the mountain. This is well known. Now, microwaves are line of sight propagations. They shoot very narrow, concentrated beams straight ahead, ranging, again, from 300 megahertz to 300 gigahertz. Okay, so very, very basic concept here, important to grasp. Fundamental difference. Now, you could say, oh, microwaves are radio waves, right? Well, I get, microwaves and radio waves are light, right? It's all electromagnetic radiation. It's a huge spectrum of it. Okay, and then you have different wavelengths. Now, waves aren't things, and they're quantifications of motion, and so you can try to give it a length, although simply that being a conceptual description of a motion, right? A descriptor. But anyway, so I think we got that covered pretty well. So in the military, they have microwave relay systems, and they send out microwaves, and they started doing this as early as like the 50s. I lost all my tabs, I'm sorry, but they as early as like the 50s, they were sending these out. Now, according to, well, anyway, this is what some of them look like. They have them on different vehicles. They have them just sitting on the ground. They have them like here, maybe 12 meters up or so, not even. And they have them a little bit above the ground. Now, sometimes they'll try to get a little bit of elevation, of course, because you want to avoid topographical obstruction. Like, you wouldn't go in a valley and shoot a microwave, obviously, because the hill's going to block it. So you get a little bit of elevation. But even with the elevation, and you send it out, the curvature of the Earth should still block the microwave, right? You can just do the math. Do the math with the elevation and then the target distance. You should have a certain amount of obstruction. You should have a physical geometric horizon at a certain distance, according to the globe. I'm going to come over here because I have to address some of this nonsense that's been going on. Not with too much specificity, but I'm, of course, presenting what the globe talks about, what it claims, right? All EM radiation is subject to refraction and diffraction. It's like some people just don't understand things, right? But if you send out, it's not that it's not subject to it. It's if I send out the transmission and it's this thin, this is its maximum width here, right? Because it's a concentrated microwave, and then it hits this hill. It can't diffract around it because it's not wide enough of a span to diffract around it. Now, if you send out a radio transmission with lower frequency and you have this wide of a span, well, then it can keep going past it, and then it's going to fill back in behind it. Okay? No, that was pretty crude illustration there, but so it's very simple. And as you get higher with these higher frequencies like microwaves, you can study it. It's not affected by refraction nearly at all. And of course, radio transmissions in general aren't really affected by refraction like that. It's when you get over into the visible light when you start to see it. Now, it's not that they're not affected at all by diffraction and refraction. It's wave-like propagation. Of course, really, what is it? It's an excitation of the background medium, but it doesn't matter. Okay, EMR, electromagnetic radiation. And there's a huge spectrum of what happens regarding diffraction and refraction. Okay, and so we're testing the globe claim here, okay? So when I say that there should be a physical geometric horizon, that's the globe Earth model. That's the globe Earth model, right? And I'm just let the trolls know. If you guys just spam like all kinds of insults and stuff in the chat, and you're not like making some type of substantive remark about the stream, either just don't comment, or I'm gonna have to end up like seeing you out because you're just distracting away from the stream. So try to act like an adult. All right, so see what they're like. They're like, that's a lie. It is affected by. I just explained. I'm gonna ban you. I promise. I just explained. They are affected by refraction and diffraction, but to varying degrees. And something cannot diffract around a physical obstruction that is higher up than the concentrated beam of microwaves. If you disagree with this, you disagree with all physics, all science, all experiments, and the military, who literally spent millions and millions of dollars building this technology that we're about to cover. So it's like kind of weird that you guys, it's whatever. Okay, so here's an example of what it kind of looks like. They shoot these microwaves out. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna remember the scenes. All right, so let's cover some of the basics some more. Let me cover these super chats. In un mundo, Dlive, thank you for the $5 super chat. In un mundo, in a world. All right, I haven't heard a lot yet. Yeah, of course, I'm representing their position better than they can by the time this is over. All right. So do microwaves bounce off the atmosphere? While lower frequency radio waves can follow the contours of the Earth and bounce off layers in the atmosphere, microwaves only travel line of sight, typically limited to 30 or 40 miles on the Earth's surface. Another important property of microwave radiation is that it is absorbed by moisture. Now that's an important part to remember as well, okay? So under normal ionospheric conditions, quote unquote, 40 megahertz is the highest frequency radio wave that can be reflected by the ionosphere. Now again, you remember we just covered under normal ionospheric conditions. Now they say that because they can always just fluctuate it around, like oh, we can change it. But under normal ionospheric conditions, 40 megahertz is the highest frequency radio wave. Normally it's around 30, according to the globe paradigm itself. And here we have, of course, 106 megahertz, 2,140 miles. Okay. Microwaves travel by line of sight. Unlike lower frequency radio waves, they do not diffract around hills, follow the Earth's surface as ground waves, or reflect from the ionosphere. So terrestrial microwave communication links are limited by the visual horizon to about 40 miles. Now, this is the official globe paradigm. These are universities, militaries. That's who these sources are. So it doesn't really matter what anyone has to say about it. This is the globe model, and we're schooling the globers. That's what we have to do, right? That's the name of the show. So, and that's kind of normal, right? No big deal. So again, it's important to pay attention to this right here. We're gonna break this down. If you guys keep spamming the chat, you're gonna get blocked. None of my mods do it, I'll do it. All right. Microwave, I should almost if you want to be a man and call in and show your face, you can jump in at the end of the show. Microwaves travel by line of sight. That's, of course, you look out, you see something, you shoot straight at it. Unlike other lower frequency radio waves, they do not diffract around hills. Now, you don't actually have to see for line of sight. You just assume horizontal, extend it out. Unlike lower frequency radio waves, they do not diffract around hills, right? Now you saw, this is hilarious. We have to teach the globers, right? So what they say just a second ago, even in the chat, right? They're like, it is affected by diffraction. You know, it's goofy because I'm just representing your model. Respect's been a flat earther since 2014. Been waiting since then for someone like you. You're a wizard, bro. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Ryan B, for the $5 super chat and the kind words, brother. Much love. All right. And just try to kind of ignore them. If I come over there and they keep spamming, they're just going to be gone. Because they're the two people that spam my comments as well. All right, so it's important to keep this all in mind. Here's the frequency range again. Okay, they say that it's bouncing up and down, tops out at 40, usually around 30, and it's going up and down, creating what's called a skip zone. Of course, we have 106 megahertz shooting, 2,000 miles. And this is important. Like I was explaining just a second ago, for something to diffract, it has to have a wider span than the physical obstruction. There has to be a gap. Like if I talk to you through the door, well, there's technically little creases and gaps that the sound can get through, right? So for something to diffract, it has to be able to get past the obstruction, and then it fills in the gap behind that where the obstruction blocks. So if you're sending out a microwave with this really concentrated beam, which can be as small as like a millimeter, and there's a hill there that's taller than where this beam is, it can't diffract around it because the span of the waves weren't big enough, right? Very common sense, like very simple stuff here, right? Which is why it's explaining right here, they're topped out around 30, 40 miles. And here it says, unlike lower frequency radio waves, which have a much wider span, right? They do not diffract around hills, follow the Earth's surface as ground waves, or reflect the ionosphere. Now they claim that the radio waves, the ground waves, that they just follow the Earth's surface. Just trust me. So terrestrial microwave communication links are limited by the visual horizon to about 40 miles. Now what's so funny is visual horizon, of course, is redundant, and they seem to have not gotten the anti-flat Earth update, right? Where they no longer say the visual horizon is not considered the geometric horizon anymore, according to people in the trenches. You never see the curve of the Earth, and it's always just an apparent horizon, and you never know where the real curve of the Earth is, and you never see it. Loving all your hard work, pal. Thank you very much, Jonathan Sill, for the super chat and the kind words, brother. So anyway, it's just funny. Now, we are just falsifying the globe claim. The globe claims that there's a physical geometric obstruction, right? The leading edge of a sphere, tangible physical obstruction blocking your view at a predictable distance based on the convexity of the Earth's surface, based on the geometric claim that the Earth is a sphere, specifically an oblate spheroid, with a radius value of 3,959 miles, giving you a curvature rate of the surface of the Earth, thus physically obstructing things in the distance. They say that this is the horizon, although, of course, meaning horizontal, and that's where horizon came from, the word horizontal, and or vice versa. And what's so interesting is that people still just say the horizon. So anyway, what they're saying is you shoot it out and you're going to see where the horizon is. They claim that that's the curve, and they're like, you can't really shoot it much further than the curve, right? Like it's going to be limited by the visual horizon, right, to about 40 miles. All right. Why microwaves are not reflected by the ionosphere. The microwave frequency range lies between 300 megahertz to 300 gigahertz. Beyond 40 megahertz frequency doesn't get reflected back by the ionosphere. It can pass through the ionosphere due to the microwave frequencies. Due to this, microwave frequencies are not suitable for ionospheric propagation. Okay. So here we go with ACE High, which is a system that was done in NATO near predominantly around the Cold War time. ACE-High represents cooperative action of NATO member nations, with the stations being located on the territory of 9 of the 15 NATO powers. I'll come down here a little bit. The Master Control Center for the network is one of the major stations, Paris North, about 40 miles north of the French capital. This station is equipped with tropospheric scatter station equipment, line of sight microwave, and STC multiplex equipment to convert radio signals to speech and telegraphic communications. The stations with huge 65-foot high circular aerials to pick up the transmit high-frequency signals are constructed on top of mountains or on other high ground, typically to avoid topographical obstruction. Now, a lot of people will basically claim, oh, well, yeah, it's on a mountain, that's why it doesn't get blocked by the curve of the Earth. This is incorrect, though. So if you assume the globe, you go look out. In some scenarios, yes, it's high enough. It doesn't go far enough based on how high it is, right? Its elevation, that it wouldn't get blocked by the curve. But in a lot of the scenarios, it would get blocked by the curve. Okay, and we're about to cover that. So the principle of the tropospheric forward scatter system is to beam high-frequency signals against the troposphere 5 to 10 miles above the Earth, pick up a part of the reflected signal with highly sensitive receivers, and beam it onward by the same means. This communication technique has many advantages. Its efficiency is not marred by atmospheric conditions. Keep that in mind. So, tropospheric forward scatter system beams high-frequency signals against the troposphere 5 to 10 miles above the Earth. That's a pretty big range there. And it picks up the signals with highly sensitive receivers and then tries to beam it onto the next one, right? It says it has advantages. It's not affected by atmospheric conditions. Interesting. So, isn't a refractive rate affected by atmospheric conditions? Isn't like the refractive index intrinsically tied to atmospheric conditions? So whenever people were talking about how it just refracted, well, that doesn't make sense, does it? Okay, now this is also, it has a computed circuit reliability of 99.9% because it's not affected by atmospheric conditions. So they send out these microwave transmissions, right? They send out microwave transmissions horizontally using line of sight, very small beam divergence, very concentrated beams ranging from 300 megahertz to 300 gigahertz. It isn't going to be able to diffract around physical obstruction because it's way too small beam divergence, way too high of a frequency, right? And it's not affected by atmospheric conditions, so they can consistently send it where they want it to be received. a reliability of 99.9%. Now, these are microwaves, okay? And the signals can be transmitted in stages of from 50 to 250 miles. Okay, reduction of the number of required delay stations through these longer stages also means reduced operation and maintenance costs and personal requirements. Okay, so 5,250 miles. Now I'll find all the other things up, and I'll find all the other browsers I had pulled up, and then we'll go through them, because I have all kinds of stuff about how far they go and how consistently they go there. Okay, so anyway, it goes 50 to 250 miles consistently, 99.9% of the time, not affected by atmospheric conditions. So it's not diffraction and it's not refraction, as is normally the term is normally used. Okay, so what is troposcatter propagation? So here, if you look at the illustration, say we're starting at Rx, what you do is you send out a microwave transmission out horizontally using line of sight. You see where it's depicted as a radio horizon right here. That's what they call where it can't go any further. So actually, this is always further than the geometric horizon, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. Boom. Sorry, that dude's just getting on my nerves. He's just spamming stuff. Like, okay. So if you have the radio horizon, and that's always further than the alleged geometric horizon, or the curve of the Earth, right? So that's funny in and of itself. It says, like, they just give it a little bit of a leeway. Now, even when it comes to radio transmissions, it goes way further than this. It goes way past it. So you got the curve of the Earth right about here. Right. Then they say, oh, the radio horizon is a little further. Well, it'll kind of bend around the globe some. And then the waves, actually, when we send out radio transmissions all the time, like ground wave frequencies, they go way over here, way past this alleged radio horizon. Okay. So there is no like the radio horizon doesn't actually physically stop radio waves or anything like that. Okay. Now, any transmission greater than 40 degrees elevation has extremely low refraction. You're making my point stronger. So anyway, what they say is they send out these horizontal line of sight microwaves, right? You see the screen's going to come out horizontally, and the Earth's, of course, dropping down beneath it as it goes up. As it continues to go out straight, the Earth drops underneath it, right? So it's going to be physically obstructed here at the bottom, and then it's going to keep going up, and then it gets reflected down. So that's what they claim. They claim that there's an area in the troposphere, they call this troposcattering, tropospheric scattering, troposcatter propagation, that they send this up, and then there's an area around 5 miles or so, right, the lower part of the troposphere, where it reflects it back down. So they came up with the same excuse as this, right? As where when we shot these way too far, 2,200 mile radio transmissions, line of sight, horizontal propagation, first time success, 2,200 miles when it should have been blocked by less than 200 miles. They came up with the ionosphere, and they said, oh, well, it just bounces around. Okay? And we covered how that's really a joke in and of itself, because the frequencies they say can bounce off of this ionosphere is up to 30 or 40, and we have over 100 going 2,140 miles. Okay. Now we come back over here. So they just did the same thing, only this is nowhere close to the ionosphere. This is just like 5 miles up. Now they had to do that to explain it, because what they're actually doing on the Earth is they're sending a microwave straight out horizontally, and then it's received over here. So obviously one option is the Earth's a plane. You're sending out a horizontal line of sight propagation over the plane, and then it's received, right? So they were doing this and receiving it, so they had to come up with a way to explain how they think it works on the globe. Well, they found out, well, refraction doesn't really work, because this is consistently happening all the time, and refractive index can't be the same all the time. So what they say, now you could try to say, oh, this is a type of refraction, or type of diffraction, or you can say whatever you want to. It's basically reflection. This comes up, and they say it hits a certain portion of the troposphere, and it's not even agreed upon. This is still debated and studied today, and they don't know why. And they say it's been predominantly, some mainstream sources will tell you it's been like basically replaced via satellites. But then when you look into the military documents and the contracts, they're like spending tons of money on this to this day. Okay. Now they say particles and water vapor and water droplets and stuff like that will reflect it back down. Now there's a problem with this though. Now this is just their ad hoc made up story about how it works. We send out microwave, super strong, high frequency, concentrated microwaves directly out line of sight horizontally, and it should be blocked around, let's say, 20 miles. And they're going 200 and 250 miles. So they had to have a reason why that could possibly happen. Now they're not going to just not use it, right? So now we have another little explanation here. Here you see it shoots it out horizontally. The Earth curves down underneath it. It goes off in towards space, but it gets about 5 miles up, and they say that it just reflects back down to the receiver. A method of communicating, tropospheric scattering is a method of communicating with microwave radio signals over considerable distances, often up to 500 kilometers, 310 miles, and further by allegedly reflecting microwaves off the atmosphere a few miles above the surface. Okay, very interesting. Now let's get into it. So you have the thermosphere, mesosphere, stratosphere, troposphere, and you have what they call the tropopause, around 8 kilometers or 16 kilometers. Okay, and so they say this is the area where stuff will reflect down. Stuff will reflect down. Flataholics, you should be banned from here too, by the way. So you're on very thin ice, my dude. Okay, so that's where they say this happens. So just a few miles up. This is because it can't go much higher because we're sending out horizontally. So it's got to be something that keeps it close to the surface real fast, right? All right. Now, here's what they say for different frequencies. They say there's something called enhanced tropospheric refraction. They say that you go up there, you have the cool air, you have the warm air, then you have what's called the temperature inversion layer, and that it just reflects back down off this layer, this temperature inversion layer. So not like refracting because of different layers, it just reflects back down. Now, you can call it refraction because there's two mediums, right? And so you could say that the reflective effect is basically a product of refraction. So sure, call it that. Right now, so of course this is not two different mediums, but they treat it that way. So there's an inversion layer. Oh, okay, whatever. That's what they say for certain frequencies. They say surface tropospheric ducting, right? Which is where they say that there's a layer and it just bounces up and down, up and down, up and down, trapped inside of a layer, so it can just keep going on and on and on. They say there's like a layer here. Now they say the same thing for sonar waves for wells that can send 10,000 miles. Oh, well, it's going to look just like it's horizontal and it's going to go straight to where it needs to go and it's going to be received the entire way. But actually, there's just this like little corridor. There's this little window that's created there magically in both the water and the air that keeps the waves just bouncing up and down so that they can just pretty much just go straight out horizontally. Yeah. Okay, so this is because if they say, oh, well, it's going up and bouncing back down, then there's no way they should receive them right here in the skip zone, right? So now they've extended the skip zone to where really you can always say, oh, well, you know, just based on wherever the inversion layer is that day, maybe you can receive them all along here, because it just goes up and down inside of a ducting layer, a ducting zone, right? Okay, and so now this is all for radio transmissions that are lower frequencies. So it's not even just the ionosphere that they say. They just say, oh, well, just trust me. It's going around the globe. It must be in some little corridor that's keeping it as if it's horizontal in this, like, just a horizontal layer. Like, let me come over here and make sure you fully understand this here. Radio guys call it conditions. Yeah. So if the Earth is a plane and you send out a radio transmission or a microwave transmission, you're just sending it out parallel to the Earth. You're sending out line of sight parallel to the Earth, right? And so it's just going to go straight there. So if you're all along the path, you're going to receive it. If you're on a globe, the Earth's going to block the transmission. It's going to start going out towards space. It's going to have to bounce back down. Radio waves, they say, go up to the ionosphere, made up invention to save the globe, and then bounce back down, give you a huge skip zone, but only up to 30, maybe 40 megahertz. Now we have up to 106, 107, and the world record's going 2,100, 2,200 miles. That can't go through the ionosphere. So they had to come up with another reason. So one of the reasons that they come up with this stuff like this, they say, oh, well, there's a little layer that's, it's level, so it's going to always look like it's horizontal. You're not really going to be able to tell, and it's just bending around the globe just the right way, that if you send it out as if the Earth was a plane and send it out horizontally and perfectly, it's going to go exactly like it would if the Earth was a horizontal plane, and it's going to always work, but it's just ducting there. Now, this shouldn't work all the time, but this is where they get out here. Because based on conditions, you can only send transmission so far. There's attenuation, and there's absorption of things in the sky, and there's topographical obstruction, and there's interference of storms. And depending on what electronics are there, can mess up your signal. So they're like, oh, it works, it doesn't work. No one's out there measuring like, oh, there's a ducting layer today. Oh, there's not one, right? So anyway, they just made up this idea. That's what they're doing. Now, they're just assuming the Earth's a ball, and thus they have to explain away how everything works like the Earth is flat. And so that's what they're doing here. But okay, now that's for radio. That's for lower frequencies. Because we're schooling the Globers here. Okay. Now, troposcattering is a different thing. These are completely different. This is, of course, like radio, lower radio waves, but that can't go off the ionosphere. So they say, oh, well, there's enhanced tropospheric refraction where there's an inversion layer and things just bounce down as if there is a little mini ionosphere down there. Trust me, I promise. And then they say there's surface tropospheric ducting. Now, what's funny is wait till I really drop the hammer on the ballers here soon, where I start tying all of this into their refraction claims when we see hundreds of miles away. Uh-oh. Yeah, but anyway. Okay, could you explain your ideas of the ham radio operators in Australia pointing their antennas to the south to communicate? Communicate to who? All right, so what I want to know is how it can even go that far. Let's stick with that. All right, so this is different than troposcatter, right? Troposcatter propagation, tropospheric scattering, right? So as you see here, you can see this is a horizontal line coming out from this microwave dish here. You'll hear all kinds of stuff from apologists, right? Like, oh, actually, they shoot it up in the air. No, they don't, because I just read military documents, and what they say is that, and if you go to my Telegram, I'll drop a bunch of the stuff. I'll drop all the stuff. It says you can just keep it like just above or below 0 degrees, doesn't matter, and just aim right above the horizon. Well, yeah, if you're shooting over a plain Earth, are you going to aim at the ground, or are you going to aim just above it? So they're like, oh, well, just aim just above the horizon. They don't say aim up in the air. Now, it seems like that would make more sense, actually, right? Now, the actual military documents, the people that are truly using it, they say just shoot horizontal, like right above the horizon, like barely above the horizon. Very specific parameters on how to use the microwave transmissions that admittedly, and we'll pull them up in just a second, even though I lost all my tabs, where they admittedly consistently go over 100, 150 miles, up to 200, 250 miles. Consistently. Military uses it all the time. It works every single time. Okay, and they send this microwave out, and they say just shoot it right over the horizon, horizontal line of sight. Just treat it like that. Now, if there really was a layer here that's going to reflect it back down, wouldn't it be more efficient just to shoot it up in the air, because it's going to come back down? You're going to be able to receive it in way more areas. Now, this is what they say. Just a small portion of it comes down. A lot of it goes out into space. Another convenient story, right? Because, of course, as you send microwaves, and they can get absorbed by water vapor in the air and different humidity layers. And so as you send it out, obviously, the signal's going to get weaker because of attenuation. All right. Now, here's the problem with their little idea here. You still have what's called a skip zone. This area right here. You send it out horizontally. The Earth's curving down away from you. And say it goes up about 5 to 10 miles. Then bounces back down to the receiver. So this whole area right here isn't receiving the microwave. So the beam allegedly reflects right here. And that's where you get your scattering angle, which means this whole portion right here is a skip zone, just like with the quote-unquote ionospheric skywave propagation. But what actually happens is they send these horizontal transmissions out with microwave, and they're received all along the path. In fact, the military knows this so much that they set people up in the specific areas in between the relay stations to be guided, especially when they said they can't have quote-unquote satellite guidance. This is 2022 paper that I just had pulled up. I'll find it. So this is why it doesn't work. If this is going up in the air and just reflecting back down, always 99.9% of the time, it just always works. Just shoot it out horizontally like the Earth is flat. And I promise there's an area up there where it's constantly fluctuating and there's different humidity and there's different stuff in the air and there's not stuff in the air and everything changes, but it works every single time. Then that means there's a skip zone here. This debunks the globe. The fact that the people receive the microwaves in between debunks the globe. And then this made-up claim that it just reflects off of a estimated area that you can't actually know, 5 to 10 miles, and it's just going to hit. We don't really know what it does. It may just hit water droplets. It may just hit some dust particles. We're not really sure, but it reflects out of the troposphere because that's the general range you have to claim it's reflecting back down to receive it if the Earth is a globe, right? But it's constantly fluctuating and changing, and they say the troposphere changes different heights, and the different inversion layers are constantly shifting and all this stuff. Yet they're just shooting it out, using it the same way every single time, not even accounting for atmospheric conditions. Which proves to you that that means that answer is refuted. That rebuttal doesn't work. Ballers, globers, I need you to pay attention right here. That means that doesn't work as an explanation. If you're claiming that it's just going to go up and then reflect down on an inhomogeneous troposphere that fluctuates and changes distances and can go from 5 to 10 miles based on whatever's going on or where it could be reflecting from. And that's because if you look at the actual data of the Atmos, it fluctuates. So they can't say it's just like a magic perfect thing there. So, but why does the military just use it the same every day, all day, according to their documents, according to their patents, and according to their official explanations online, .mil.gov and CIA declassified documents, right? Why does it say that they just use it the same every time? They shoot it out horizontal over and over and over and over. And it works the same 99.9% of the time, and it completely doesn't account for atmospheric conditions. It's game over. That means that you can't claim that it's just a fluctuating atmospheric condition that causes it, and it's 99.9% accurate. And the military is, of course, going to use it because it works. They don't care about people just like can't let go of their story they were told in 5th grade. Watch this. See, like, cool story, bro. You realize radio waves don't get shot in straight lines. They make a shape of a wave. A simple Google search will show you this. Now, watch how easy, like, Flurf smash. You're about to get smashed, and if you keep trolling, then, but at least you're talking about the subject. Hey, buddy, maybe you weren't here and you're not paying attention. You have radio waves. They have a wider span. It's a lower frequency, so then they span out past the height of the obstruction, and then they diffract around it. Microwaves have a much more concentrated beam because they're much higher frequencies. And up to 300 gigahertz, it can get as small as 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter. So yeah, they actually do get shot out in a straight line, a 1 millimeter wide beam. That's pretty much a straight line. And then when you get, it goes from 300 megahertz up to 300 gigahertz, right? Again, this is what it is right here, right here. You got radio waves, they span out. Microwaves don't do that though. And so if you go to the lower end, like 300, you might get a couple feet beam divergence. A couple feet. Nothing like radio waves at all. Nothing like them. But if you go up to 300 gigahertz, it's like 1 millimeter, right? So they just have a foot or two of how much the beam spans out. So the answer cannot be that it just spans out. They send it out horizontally in a straight line using line of sight. It's called line of sight. And they know that they can't just claim, oh, I promise it spans out, because that's incompetent and inept, right? Only like people that can't let the globe go online get to say whatever they make up, and then they get refuted and make something else up. But in the real world, they would, intellectuals and academics and people in the military and people developing these technologies and engineers, they would never say anything like this, right? Obviously. They know the microwave is concentrated beam. It doesn't have much divergence. It has a much higher frequency. And they also know, of course, that wavelength and frequency are inversely proportionate. So all that being said, they know that they can't say it's just diffracting around the curve, or diffracting around an obstruction like a mountain. It doesn't just diffract like a radio wave does, because the width of the span of the propagation is so much wider. The wave is so much wider that, again, this wave keeps going out and then it fills back in behind it. This wave can't fill back in behind it because it can't get past the obstruction because it's not wide enough. It isn't taller than the obstruction itself. Very basic stuff. And again, just to recover this, because we're almost at the end of the presentation here. While lower frequency radio waves can follow the contours of the Earth and bounce off layers in the atmosphere, microwaves only travel line of sight, typically limited to 30-40 miles on Earth. Under normal ionospheric conditions, 40 megahertz is the highest frequency radio wave that can be reflected from the ionosphere. And we showed, 40 megahertz? Well, that's crazy, because 106 megahertz is shared in 2,140 miles. Okay, but either way, back to the microwaves, they travel by line of sight. Unlike lower frequency radio waves, they do not diffract around hills, follow the Earth's surface as ground waves, or reflect from the ionosphere. So terrestrial microwave communication links are limited by the visual horizon to about 40 miles. And what they mean is the assumed curvature of the Earth. Of course, the horizon's visual. That's painfully redundant. It's only apparent. It's not actual. We've proven this a million different ways by now in Flat Earth with all these observations. So now people say, oh, well, you never see the actual curve of the Earth, and yeah, it's always apparent, and we don't know where the physical one is there, but I promise it's there. So the microwave frequency range lies behind 300 megahertz and 300 gigahertz. Beyond 40 megahertz frequency doesn't get reflected by the ionosphere. It can pass through the, it can't pass, it doesn't get reflected by ionosphere. It can pass through the ionosphere. Due to this, microwave frequencies are not suitable for ionospheric propagation. Now, this is me just schooling the globers, hence the name of the show. Because the best way to, of course, let me explain this. Some people don't seem to understand this. The best way to get to the truth of a thing is you have to actually be informed about what both sides of some discussion is, right? That's why it's so important that you be able to still man the other side. This is why you have so many people in denial that the Earth is a stationary topographical plane, because they haven't done that. They haven't done like the first step of like logical deduction to actually come to a justified conclusion, which is being able to fully understand both sides. You have no business making a final decision about a subject until you can articulate and argue both sides very well and informed. But if you go ask all these people that run around like trolling true earthers or whatever, right? If you go ask them, can you still man the flat Earth? How does the sunset work? They can't even articulate words out loud. It doesn't. Like, do you think there would be no horizon on flat Earth? Yeah, there'd be no horizon. They can't still man the position. They stay the same remedial stuff they said in 2014. That's the difference. What we're doing here, and what you should do in intellectual form, if you're intellectually responsible and productive, is you have to be able to still man the other position. Here, we're still manning the globe. Okay? I've given the top tier answers. If you see all the people in here trying to defend it, all their answers are just going down like dominoes. Talking about diffraction, slaughtered. Talking about refraction. These are people that have been in this conversation for years, obsessively stalking and following it. And they can't even still man their own position. And like, that doesn't make sense, but you can't still man your own position. But I can still man the globe better than they can even try to defend it. It's important to understand that that's the point of this stream here. Some people seem to apparently not understood that inside this community. But in order to refute the globe, if you're intellectually honest, what you do is you accurately represent it. You don't misrepresent it. You don't straw man. You still man it. You show what the best it has to offer is, and then you show what's wrong with it. Okay, and that's what we're doing. So the microwave frequency range lies again. So they don't bounce off. And again, I think the important one here to really make sure you understand here: microwaves travel by line of sight. Unlike lower frequency radio waves, they do not diffract around hills, follow the Earth's surface as ground waves, or reflect from the ionosphere. So terrestrial microwave communication links are limited by their horizon to about 40 miles. And again, this is why, because they're different. All right, don't want to get too redundant. Okay, so here's where you have the troposphere. They say it bounces down like this right here, and that gives you what's called a skip zone, which means if you can send this microwave out, which they can, line of sight horizontally up to 200 miles, 250 miles, right? And they're being received consistently up to 99.9% of the time, which is obviously the most you can ever get. 99.9% of the time, they receive their signals up to 250, and some claim even up to 300 miles, just direct line of sight, right? And they say the way that this happens is by scattering angle. If you say that this just happens because of A change in frequency. What does a change in frequency mean? Or diffraction? What does that mean? Refraction? Wait, what does that mean? Because what they say actually is that it can't be refracting. That frequency it's provable via experiments that frequency of microwaves isn't affected by refraction like that. It's like barely affected by it at all, right? It's not that it's not affected at all, but it's barely affected by it. Okay, and then they know they can't just say it's high elevations, which people on the internet will say that, but that doesn't even make sense. They would never say that because you can just do the math. They do try to get to higher elevations. Of course they do. That's what you would do on a plane Earth. You want to get further away from topographical obstruction, but even doing the math with the elevations, the curvature of the Earth should still block it. So if you just say you aim the signal up, well, that's not what they say they do. That's not what they do in real life. They don't aim the signal up. They shoot it out horizontal. They say shoot it just above the horizon, just above or below 0 degrees. Shoot it out just above the horizon. Line of sight. Like shoot it out horizontally just above the horizon. Of course, what else are you going to do? Shoot it at the ground? Shoot it at the horizon? So they shoot it just above. They're not aiming up in the air at an angle, hoping that so that it reflects back down, which is what you would actually do for more efficient, like close range propagation and the in between little sweet zone there, right? But they shoot it out horizontally because they know that's how you're actually going to receive it, and then the strength they get back varies based on attenuation properties. So long story short, they claim that just 99.9% of the time, this microwave just happens to hit this magical area that they can't even properly define the height of, 5 to 10 miles, a 5-mile range, yet they're consistently shooting it the same way, from the same location, from the same elevation, with the same frequency, using the same line of sight assumption, getting the same results 99.9% of the time. Yet apparently there's this huge range of 5 to 10 miles. Wouldn't you have to know exactly what the height is in order to be able to know what angle you're going to shoot up at it so it can be received at a certain distance away? Because they don't do that. They say they don't account for atmospheric conditions. They shoot just above the horizon, just shoot basically right at the horizon, just above it, shoot line of sight with a line of sight assumption, and that it works almost every time. And that they don't account for the atmospheric conditions, and that they don't account for the height in which it's supposed to be reflecting back down from. Just, oh, there's stuff in the air, so some of it'll scatter and some of it'll get down there. That's what their official explanation for the globe is. But that doesn't work with an inhomogeneous fluctuating atmos. And so I know I was redundant. I want to make sure everyone understood it. So this debunks the globe right here. You have someone in the skip zone. Someone sends out a horizontal propagation line of sight microwave, and then someone's in the skip zone and receives it. It's over. This happens all the time. Up to 250, 300 miles. And it happens consistently. It's got like 100% accuracy effectively. As close as you can get to 100% accuracy. You know why? Because if you've accounted for topographical obstruction between you and your target and you're shooting out a microwave line of sight, of course it's going to get there pretty much every single time, unless there's something else that's unpredicted that actually intersects the signal, right? Like some type of electric interference with the signal. Other than that, you're going to be able to, boom, shoot it every time. So back to the point here, right? 50 to 250 miles. They say the troposphere is 5 to 10 miles above the Earth. So they shoot the high-frequency beams 5 to 10 miles? When you actually go look at them, and I'll pull them up in a second, I have to find them all. Or I'll drop them, at least drop them all in the Telegram. They don't account for any of those conditions. So this debunks the globe. There's actually no way around it. You can deny it. I mean, I have no doubt that people will, but we're schooling the globers here. Right, this is the reality. So, consistent horizontal line of sight microwave transmissions over great distances falsify the globe model. Thanks. I'm glad we got that covered. In a world. All right. Who created all this stuff? What does that mean? It's so funny too. It's like people will just like make themselves somehow believe it or something, like, yeah, just shoot the microwaves out there like the Earth is flat, but it's not. It's totally not. And then also, like, one of the funniest parts about the stream, it's like, dude, it's always over at the very beginning of it, right? Where it's like, oh, so it goes up to about 30, maybe 40 megahertz. And the rest go through the ionosphere that they made up to save the globe. Because they also claim they shoot radio to the moon and all this stuff, and to the sun, right? So you can't go back on that claim. Can't go back on that claim. Okay. Well, what's up with this then? Why are people sending radio transmissions 2,140 miles over 100 megahertz? 2,500 miles at 106 megahertz. Like, are you kidding me? Gravity is basically the carrier wave from the current between the sky and the ground. Oh, yeah. Everything goes down to the ground to seek equilibrium. Pretty simple stuff. And everything's electric, so has a slight bias to go down to where it can equalize out and discharge, dissipate its excess energy. All right, cool. There's school on the Globers. Sorry for the technical difficulties. And like all my freaking things got... Sucks, man. Let me try to find some of them here. Look, I'm salty. It's making me like go by them one by one. Brother, man. All right, give me just a sec. And I'm going to pick up a lot of my history, but that's what I'm saying. I have to go through each one of them one by one. It's going to take forever. I'm just going to drop them all in the Telegram, t.me/Witsit streams. I dropped a few PDFs in there. Yeah, because I don't remember which ones are which here. But yeah, anyway, the more you look into it, the worse it gets for them, like over and over and over. They're like, yeah, we do this all the time. And then they're proposing new patents and stuff where they're like, yeah, just send it further. Send it further. We can send it consistently. It's like, this is a way better option than like having to rely on what people call satellites. Like they're never reliable anyway. Like that's what the military is saying basically. Like this completely removes the need to rely on quote unquote satellites, where you can never get this internet out in the middle of nowhere that you claim should be super easy to get. This is way more efficient just in microwave transmissions. And of course, you can also look into the document Electromagnetic Propagation Over a Flat Earth, right? They use electromagnetic weapon systems and like tower systems as weapons, right? Weaponry. And they just assume the Earth a dielectric plane. They shoot it straight out, line of sight, directly over what's assumed horizontal plane. It's very interesting, right? Like, so ducting is this big example of what they claim happens. I'm like, oh, can you replicate, like, can you do an experiment for me where you can replicate this tropospheric ducting for me, please? Can you please send a microwave out and then make it like bend around a globe because it's ducting? Can you just show me that happening? No, it's just made up. So you have no empirical evidence at all that could even happen. Why do you believe it? Because if the Earth's a globe, it must be happening, right? And it's just weird. It's like, I know I was so redundant when I broke it down, but it's kind of frustrating because like even like flat earthers trying to come at me. I'm like, wait, do you not understand the argument? The argument is there's really nothing to say. It debunks the globe. It debunks the globe. If you have someone in between the area, what should be a skip zone, and they receive the signal, globe debunked. Well, they do consistently. They consistently can receive the microwave signals in between the where it sends out from and then where it's received. Well, it's supposed to be going up, reflecting down. It can't just bend around the globe. Doesn't work. Admittedly, they know it doesn't work. So it's over. I think I pretty thoroughly explained it though, so I don't want to be super redundant. I'd read the documents you drop for like 4 hours a day. LMAO, they are money. Oh yeah, the ones Yeah, ripping rotation away from them. Yeah, we get the ones we covered last night. Yeah. Hello, everyone. What up, Hank? Waves aren't beams. He just said it again. Waves aren't beams. Dude, imagine being like that. Like, just saying it over and over. Do you remember I literally went back in the stream and like went back in the PowerPoint to show that very thing again? He's just repeating it. Look right here. Okay. Here we have a beam. A microwave beam. Fed Up Flat Earth Festival, July 29th and 30th, Pattersonville, New York. Hope to see you all there. I think I will be there, right? So I'll be there. I guess speaking. Fed Up Gear. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Check it out. Festival. In-person festival, July 29th and 30th. Should be dope. In, I think it's like upstate New York. Yeah. Dude, it's so funny. Like, they don't know what to say, bro. They don't know what to say. It's not a beam. We know about ducting because we have empirical evidence. Okay, name the paper that shows you empirical evidence that you can replicate high frequency microwaves bending convexly above a spherical surface because of ducting, like even on a small scale. Please show me that. Because, and what's even funnier is they don't even claim ducting. They don't claim ducting for these high frequency microwaves because they know it wouldn't work. They use what's called, they say it's tropospheric scattering. Tropospheric scattering, okay? That's not the same as ducting, right? And that's where they say they just shoot it out, and then it's curving underneath. It goes out, up into the sky, starts going towards space, then it reflects back down off of air particles or water droplets, whatever it is that's in the air, and just some of them come back down, and then they receive them. That's the official globe excuse, which is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And again, yeah, this is a beam. Hey, if I send out high frequency microwaves, right, and it only expands to like 1 millimeter, is that a beam? Hey, if I send out a microwave and it only expands to like a couple feet, is that a beam? I think that would be like a beam. Yeah. That'd pretty much be a beam, right? So are really wide radio waves the same as really, really concentrated microwaves that don't span out like that? Of course not. This is what I'm saying. To actually get into it, like get into the depth of it and to defend the globe, you have to just start saying the most remedial, ignorant stuff you can imagine, bro. And there you go. Nothing funny about how virtually none of the actual experts who design and deploy such comm tech would agree with your conclusions. Like, what does that mean? First of all, you don't even know that. You don't know that at all, right? And secondly, they just are told different ideas. Like, oh, well, just shoot it out like everything. Do everything like the Earth is flat, and we'll just kind of assume it's not. And what's so funny is ballers ran around telling me for so long, they're like, microwaves prove the Earth's a globe because they always get blocked at 30 miles. Come to find out they don't. They go as far as 200 to 300 miles. And not just because of elevation, not just because it's so high above the globe that the globe's not blocking it, right? Like, no, it's going out past where the globe's supposed to block it. They claim it goes up in the sky up to like 5 miles and then reflects back down because of scattering, and that most of it goes up to the sky. It's so funny, bro. It's so funny. And then they can receive it all the way. It's so funny, dude. It's like, oh, so whoever uses the technology has to agree with your conclusion. So I guess you can't use the gyro since the person that actually invented the very principle that it's designed upon, the Sagnac effect, said that it was a vortex in the ether. Like, it's so goofy. You can't invoke any argument that any creationist ever said since you're an atheist. I agree, Awesome Town. Dude, it just debunks the globe. It debunks the globe. You can do mental gymnastics about anything, though. And there you go. Right. It's just like, there's no reason to even engage with them. But they think about how desperate of a comment is to say they're not beams. Like, we covered that, right? Obviously, higher frequencies, much smaller beam divergence means that the Earth's curvature's got to physically block it. Right now, we know like the horizon is just an apparent location; it's not actual. But they claim that there's an actual physical obstruction there, and it just looks like it's moving around. And you say, "Oh, so can you ever see the curvature of the Earth, like the actual curve?" No, you can never see the actual curve of the Earth. So, like, how do you know it's there? So then that's why they changed all their arguments to now say there would be no horizon on a flat Earth. They have to say that now. They didn't used to say that. It was just ridiculous, asinine claim, right? There would be no horizon on the flat Earth. I mean, are you serious? Is there a sky and a ground on the flat Earth? Yes. What's the definition of horizon? Where the sky and ground appear to meet. Okay, so where the sky appears to meet the ground. So if there would be no horizon on a flat Earth, then would it just be all sky or all ground? It's the dumbest. You may ask yourself, why would anyone ever say that? It's because first they said, look out, boats go over the curvature of the Earth. We know you can't see this far because curvature of the Earth. We know you can't send microwaves out, curvature of the Earth. Can't send radio waves out, curvature of the Earth, right? You can't see so far, curvature of the Earth. Ha ha, look at that water. Looks like it's moving up. It's the curvature of the Earth. We see the curve. Then we started making more and more observations. No, we don't see the curve. 1 foot off the ground over the water, we see like 10 times too far, requiring the radius to be like 264,000 miles. Oh, all of a sudden we don't see the real horizon. In fact, something called refraction can make it disappear, get lifted up, pulled back behind oil rigs, and sat back down. What? So now they say we never see the real horizon, so they have to claim that the horizon is somehow evidence for the globe. They've gone from like, it's always going to be there, you can go test it, it's always going to block stuff you can only see so far, to like, just the fact there is a horizon means the Earth's a ball. It's super funny. And like, I'm just saying, you don't really want to be on that side. Don't be on the side that's like intellectually dishonest. Just be intellectually honest. Just look at this. The microwave, very small divergence, it shoots out, it goes straight to its location or to its destination. Physical obstruction doesn't let it go to its destination. So if you shoot it out and there's topographical obstruction, then you're screwed, right? That's how it works. And if it's something as like chaotic, I'm not going to say there's no such thing as scattering at all, that waves can't in any way be affected by things. Of course they can. But you could never, like, with any intellectual honesty, claim that it works 99.9% of the time, that you just send it out like it's over a flat Earth horizontally, right? Where there should be a ton of curvature blocking it. Why would you do that? When you look at the documents, they say just shoot it right over the horizon. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Right? Like, and you have to shoot it like above the horizon, so much so that by the time it reaches where that supposed curve is, that it's not going to get hit by the curve, right? You have to tilt it up. But they don't. You can go read the documents. They'll all be in my Telegram. They don't do that. They say shoot it just above the horizon. If it's a little above or below 0 degrees, it's cool. The RAN can't work on the bare Earth. Yeah, that's also accurate. MKE Matt, thank you for being a member for 1 month. Yeah, I actually agree with you. I like, what's funny is none of this can work. So anyway, we can just move on. Like, just to just say stuff like, it's not a beam. Okay, so you got nothing to say. Ducting exists. You're stupid. Okay, you have nothing. We're talking about tropospheric scattering working 99.9% of the time with an area they can't even properly define. Say it fluctuates from 5 to 10 miles, yet they shoot it the same way without adjusting all the time, and allegedly the atmos is constantly fluctuating, but admittedly in their own documents they say they do not account for atmospheric conditions. Goofy, dude. Right here. This communication technique has many advantages. Its efficiency is not marred by atmospheric conditions. It has a computed circuit reliability of 99.9%. The signals can be transmitted in stages of from 50 to 250 miles. All right, cool. Thank you guys for kicking it. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I may have a guest on tomorrow night. I may not, because I really have so much stuff to do with Audit NASA. Like, honestly, if I have a whole day to work on that, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But we may have WitsitGetsIt second episode tomorrow. If not, then we'll have one like pretty much every week going forward, because I'm already going ahead and setting the schedule up. I have the next guest for next week already. And Friday we'll be in the field with Professor Parks, right? The astronomer. He was supposed to be here last week, rescheduled to this week. So that'll be going on. And then I think I'm going to try to do the first Witsit's Biscuits and Gravy episode Sunday morning. And then, of course, we have Globebusters Sunday afternoon. So cool. Yeah, it is what it is. We schooled the Globers. I guess we told them all their best answers. Is really just be honest and think about that. It's insane. They say that just one real fast. Okay, obviously the microwaves we've talked about it a million times, right? Really small beam divergence, shoots out, should be blocked by the curve of the Earth, goes much further than that every single time. So you can't claim diffraction, can't claim refraction, right? Because diffraction, it's not wide enough. Refraction varies with atmospheric conditions. They say it doesn't. It's like 99.9% of the time. They say it just reflects off little pieces in the air. And it just always works, even though it fluctuates and we don't know the distance. Even though you'd have to know the distance, you'd have to calculate for how high it's going to reflect back down. So that debunks that claim. It debunks the globe. It debunks the globe. If you were sending it over a globe and it was reflecting off of the due to tropospheric scattering, you would have to know how high it's going to reflect back down to know what angle to shoot it to make it be received at a certain distance. They don't do any of that. They just shoot it out. They just shoot it out and you can receive it all along the way. Microwaves, debunk the globe. We covered all the stuff that they possibly say. And then you have radio transmissions. They say nothing over 40 megahertz really can go through can reflect off the ionosphere, right? The rest go through the ionosphere. Yet you can shoot up to upwards of 100 megahertz radio transmissions, 2,500 miles. So you can't say it's bouncing up and down the ionosphere. So you don't have skywave. So we're just looking out shooting radio transmissions. What? 2,500 miles? Oh, I promise that it's just bending around the globe. It's bending around the globe, even though it's not the same as ground wave, and it's tropospheric ducting. There's just a little portion, corridor of the atmos that keeps it as if it's horizontal and keeps it at the same distance above the curved Earth as it goes around it. And they say the same thing, by the way, for wells. A well will send. I think I say that word goofy, but whale. It'll send they'll send out sonar waves like 10,000 miles, dude. Just straight out, 10,000 miles horizontal. And what they say is that there's like a ducting layer inside of the ocean, and that it just makes the sound wave go up and down, up and up and down for 10,000 miles, as if the Earth were flat, but actually it's curving. It's horizontal, but you can treat it like it's horizontal, but I promise it's curving just the right way to make it look like it's horizontal. They try to say the same thing for 2,500 mile radio transmissions, but because they can't use the ionosphere. And then microwaves just cut straight to the chase, right? It's boom, a little beam straight at it. Would have to be physically obstructed. Doesn't span out. You can't be like, I promise it spans out, and make up all these stories. Yeah, it's just game over. There you go. Globe is debunked. So welcome to True Earth. Deny it. Don't deny it. This happens all day, every day since the 50s. People have been sending these signals out. People have been sending out the radio transmissions up to 10,000 miles since 1901. So it is what it is. It is what it is. We're going to actually set up a test where we go put an individual in the skip zone. And I think we're going to add a microwave to it. So we're going to do a microwave transmission and a radio transmission. And we're going to do a radio transmission within the alleged frequency that bounces off the ionosphere. And we're going to do one outside of the range that bounces off the ionosphere. We're going to send it directly out horizontally. It's supposed to get blocked by the curve of the Earth and keep going up to space, and then reflecting back down. The other one's supposed to just go off into space. And then we're going to have people in the skip zone, the dead zone, which according to the globe, you can't receive the signal there. It's going up towards space. It has to come back down. Creates like a big V. The person standing right in the middle is going to receive the transmissions, and that definitively debunks the globe. Don't worry, I got you guys. I'll record it in 4K so you can cope harder in 4K with high definition. So that's what's going to happen. We're going to use what I just showed you. We're going to show you that it debunks the globe. There's no way around it at all. If people receive the signals in the skip zone, the globe is debunked. Of course, the military just uses it and knows that they do, and they use it with microwaves, really narrow beams that don't even worry about diffraction because it's such a small beam with the physical topographical obstruction or the curvature of the Earth obstruction being so much greater than that little narrow beam. I mean, you can't receive it in the skip zone. It's very simple stuff. So, all righty then. Thank you guys for kicking it. Can't wait for this epic fail, to be honest. But what's so funny is whenever we receive all the signals, you guys will just still deny it and run around and stalk flat earthers. It's weird. So NASA must have a special 101 room with somewhere for curved microwaves with the other moon landing footage and technology. Yeah, it's just locked away, bro. The moisture and temperature and gases and all harmonic interference just doesn't matter in their calculations. Yeah, they don't account for atmospheric conditions, for tropospheric scattering. They just shoot it out line of sight horizontal just above the horizon. The military document says you can just shoot it out just above the horizon. And it says like slightly above or below 0 degrees, and then you just shoot it straight out, and something's going to reflect it back down up there, I promise. And then it just works every single time. Now, when it comes to like when they try to like act like ducting and stuff's happening, they still don't even really count for atmospheric conditions. They say it changes, but they're like, we just hope we get it right. There's no way to really know. It's super funny, bro. It's super funny. So the data we collect using sensors, high altitude balloons, verifies the tropospheric ducting phenomenon. No, it doesn't. No, it absolutely doesn't. Like, oh, we go up and we measured vertical density gradients. That proves that there's a little corridor that traps microwaves and radio waves to go infinitely around my globe. This is so asinine. Show an experiment where you can show that there's a little corridor created, right? That the microwaves will just stay within as it bends around a curved surface. Just show that's even a thing. Audit NASA updates. There you go. Yeah, we're doing all kinds of stuff with Audit NASA. You should personal message me if you're not already in the Telegram group. That's a cool thing. I'll end with that. Some announcements. So we're filling the positions out. I think tomorrow a lot more people are going to be called. I'm also going to help go through. I think I'm probably not going to do a stream tomorrow. I'm just going to audit NASA all day. I'm going to get up, work out real early, come back, audit NASA all day, finalizing some stuff. But we're filling out positions. Everyone needs to fill out the form. And you have to sign the NDA and promise that you're being real about your identity. And it's to get rid of people like who's in this chat, right? Obviously. And I'm not going to say, yeah. Okay, yeah. It's just, anyway, you have to fill out the form, but everyone should fill out the volunteer application form. Got a link to the citation, please? Which citation? Like, can you go to Telegram? If you go to t.me/WitsitGetsIt, I'm going to drop them all in there. I have to go through all my history and find the links, and I have the PDFs already dropped in there, and I have a few more to drop. So I don't really want to look through my whole history one by one to find. I'm not even sure which one you're talking about. If you'll just please go to Telegram, that'd be really great. You were so awesome. What's it? Thank you, Brandon. You're awesome. Just want to say great show as always. Much love, gratitude, and care. Much love, brother. Thank you. Thanks for the positive work. Was it? Yeah. So, and thank you, Ron Boston Bear. Most positive person on the plane. All right. So, what were some announcements? We're having a business card design competition. So there's a little form that I'm making. You just fill it out with some basic info and just submit. You upload your files for the business card design, and then we'll go through. We're going to pick out 5 business cards. You have to come be a part of it, obviously, to get access to these links and stuff. And there's also going to be a flyer, like a little single page back and front, like glossy, like little single page thing, right? Like maybe like this, where you open it up like this. So that's kind of cool, I guess. So if you could hand it out and someone just like, oh, what is this? That's kind of cool. Maybe something like that. That's like glossy. I actually really like that. I like that a lot, actually. But anyway, something like real chill, aesthetically pleasing, concise, kind of tells you what's going on. We're going to have a competition for that. We're going to pick a few different designs out for that as well. So graphic designers, anyone that thinks they're good at that, wants to submit, I mean, you'll be like the person that you'll make the design that everyone's getting when people hand it out and kind of raise awareness. So we're announcing that. We're also gonna do the same thing for merch. We're gonna have like a little merch competition just to kind of make it fun. I'll figure out some like prize to give the people that win who get selected. I'm already like in the hole quite a bit of money for Audit NASA. Like there's all kinds of like monthly expenses I've already like taken on because of it. And I'm spending tons of time and tons of money on it, honestly. But I just believe in it. I think that real ones will rally around and try and help where I can like actually do it. And once I get like what I'm spending back, I'm just gonna have like all the the expenses filled out, and I'm just giving it to like a couple other people that are going to run the finances. And so all the money's going to come in, and boom, it's going to pay for all the expenses. And then we've already created a reimbursement form. So once we actually create a way, hopefully selling merch and selling these business cards and flyers and receiving donations and stuff like that, we'll have that all set aside for the business. Because I want everyone to just do it because they know it's what's right to do. And anyway, then we can basically reimburse people. So like I've already made the form. It's got a little video with the girl sitting there explaining to you how to do it, how to fill out the form. And you're like, oh, I went to Kennedy Space Center. It costs this much, blah, blah, blah. That's further down the road if we can get everything else figured out. But yeah, cool. So filling out the positions. So make sure if you provide your number, like answer your phone or respond whenever you get a chance. Make sure you respond or at least text back. I'll be updating the website a lot tomorrow as well. I put a pause on the newsletter. I had one made, lost it, then finally found it, then uploaded the PDF, and it wouldn't work in the program used to send out all the emails, and then GoDaddy lost all the emails, weren't sending confirmations. It's been a whole situation. It's all good. We're going to get that all worked out. We're going to have newsletter editors on this, editors and stuff as well. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming. Also, we found a pretty hilarious discovery or two, like a few of them, of what NASA's up to. So just stay tuned. We're going to have some really cool results once it fully launches off. Like I said, we need to fully launch a business this quickly, like an organization this quickly with this much going on. It's a lot. But yeah, we're going to get everything up and running. A lot of the stuff, if you want to know a lot of the stuff, you're going to have to be a part of it because it requires like anonymity, which is why the NDA is so important, because we can't give away some of the stuff we're doing because we have like very bad actors trying to shut it down. So there's that. It's going to be very cool. Yeah, cool. That's about it. It's already so dope. I don't want to give too much away, but like Audit NASA is going to be fire, bro. Like for real. I'm really like excited to see what happens. Like, what are they going to do? Like, they're going to get closed in on, and it's going to be very interesting. Let's just say that let's say the second half of 2023 is going to be very interesting. So you should be a part of it. If True Earth can't rally behind that, all come together to like work on little things here and there, so it's not like a burden for anyone, that we're all just chipping in, working together. We're going to start having our meetings. I may have an impromptu meeting tomorrow, actually. Just jump in Telegram, test that out. Telegram video call, it's encrypted, but we'll end up setting up official meetings and portals and all this stuff. So I may have an impromptu meeting tomorrow in the Telegram. I'll try to announce it. I just want a better way for everyone to stay up to date. We're working on all that though. So you can go to auditnasa.com. The application form is going to pop right up in a pop-up window. And you can fill it out, and then I'm exporting all that information, sending it over to the HR, and he's making calls and sending out emails if there's no call, no phone, or no one's answering, and we're setting up everything. We're going to facilitate all the positions, set up all the departments, all the regional departments, everything. So yeah, it's coming down to it. We're just trying to get all the people to actually just fill in the application, and we still have some people rolling in. I still have like, there are a bunch of resumes that I've read through like probably once at one point, but trying to reconnect everything, organize everything. So I need to devote at least a full day to it. Honestly, to be honest, if I could actually like make some money doing it, like while I was doing it, then I would feel more comfortable doing that. But I'll do it tomorrow. But I have to stream. I mean, I don't even make much money streaming, right? So like, we're gonna figure it out though. I just know you gotta do what's right and do it for the right reason. Everything will work out. You the man. Witsit, thank you very much. You the man. Looking forward to the Audit NASA stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Why does dude hate you so much? I don't know. People just need clout and views. Jealousy? Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. All right, cool. I gotta rise above it. So, seek and speak truth unequivocally. The weak find contentment in the consensus of ignorance. So, strong people don't care what weak people think, and informed people aren't going to care what ignorant people think. And sometimes it's difficult not to care what a lot of people think or how they attack you, but just stand strong. Just be like, I know I kind of empathize and feel bad with you in a way. You're like nervous, you're scared, you're living in fear, you're kind of attacking me for your own insecurity and your own need to be like accepted in your own mind and stuff like that. And it's okay. I still love you, you know. Even I'm trying to grow in that aspect for sure. So I'm not like preaching, but it's very obvious using any wisdom or discernment that that's the way to be. And yeah, so hopefully that's how this whole community can kind of step up and move towards that direction. Don't get dragged down in like the petty name calling and the toxicity. The people that stalk like vultures, they see this good vibration of people coming together and working together and like helping each other out. You know, if you go watch like the haters like streams and watch their chats, they're just like all toxic, hateful stuff. You come watch, it's like, yeah, I just bought 10 acres. Oh, I just had my third baby. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you, brother. Oh, we got to link up that. Oh, I can help you with this. Oh, I can send you some information on this. Oh, hit me up. My wife does this. It's like this family, this network of people. Now it's like everyone's coming together for Audit NASA with people with all their skill sets, professional capacities and everything, right? Coming together, putting their skill sets together to make real positive change, real action. It's like something, it's this energy that can't be like taken away. The only way that we can mess up, right, is to like start infighting and go at each other and stay in this low vibration. Because the truth is, the reason that so many people are obsessed with it and stalk it, even if they claim they hate it, is because they can feel the energy. They can feel like there's like this unity, there's this positive vibration it has a purpose. It has a drive, and they just want to be a part of it, but a lot of them can't really admit they want to be a part of it. And so just kind of embrace that, right? That's a cool thing, and Audit NASA is a good example. I mean, let's just come together and make stuff happen, and then we're going to feel way better about everything. We're going to have better experiences and enjoy ourselves, and these people are just going to try to drag you down. So even I feel like there are situations that I need to really realize that as well, and just fully like invest all my time into like making positive, impactful things happen, because these people will always drag you down. No one's ever done anything positive or had more integrity or morality being like the driving force in what they do, and not been attacked, not been dragged down, not been like obsessively stalked or hated on or told that they can't do it, and just like people spew hatred, and usually and anonymously. Like, that's just always going to happen. Run Boston Bear, very generous donation, brother. Thank you so much, man. $50 super chat. Can't stop, won't stop. All glory to Yah. Hey, yeah, all glory to Yah. Thank you so much, Run Boston Bear, legend. You're absolutely helping us all raise the bar. Thank you. He cuts what's it all. Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do. Like I said, high vibration, man. Like, I'm not. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. So, cool. Thank you guys for kicking it. I think that's it. So you can go to t.me/WitsitStreams to get the information from the stream. I'll upload it. You can also go to t.me/Misswits. And that's the chat we all talk in. You can at me, like at Witsit. You can personal message me. You can also message me, witsit@protonmail.com or witsitgetsit@gmail.com, which is much more flooded down. It's a lot. If you're interested in any of this stuff, you can also go to auditnasa.com, fill in the application. We'll be in contact with you. You can also scroll down to the bottom and send a message, and I'll get that on my phone, and I'll be able to respond to you and help you get into the Telegram group and stuff like that if you need to. So, all right, cool. Yeah. So just speak the truth regardless of what other people say. That's how it goes. They're going to attack you. When you're doing something right, you're going to get shot as the messenger of truth. And if you're not, then really, like, maybe you're not doing enough or doing what's right. That's just kind of how it works. And whenever they revile you for his name's sake or for the truth's sake, rejoice, for they did it to all the prophets before you. And what's true is not popular. What's popular is rarely true. So just kind of understand that, embrace it, come together, and speak the truth once you find it. That's the most important thing. Till next time, I will catch up with you guys later. Peace. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick with a force
forceful grip. They force a misinfo that we absorbing quick. Took the people's signature to mean extorted it. They forging it. If news ain't good, informants who informing them. There's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what's important is this: we porting ships, important gifts. Of course it is, what extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks. We ignoring which informant this, informant this. It looked like we were snoring tricked. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those insubordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically we in a field that's for Israel. Wonder is it real? Rappers actors say they high, say they sip with pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in a field that's for Israel. Wonder is it real?